South Korea faces a profound demographic crisis that could fundamentally alter its future across population, economy, society, culture, and defense. Decades of exceptionally low birth rates have set the stage for dramatic changes, with projections indicating a vastly different nation by 2060. This article examines the potential impacts of this trend, the factors driving it, and whether recovery remains possible. A stable population requires a fertility rate of about 2.1 children per woman. In the 1950s, South Korean women averaged 6 children. By the 1980s, this fell below 2, and in 2023, it hit a historic low of 0.72 children per woman, with Seoul at an even lower 0.55. This means about half of South Korean women may have no children, and the other half just one. If this persists, 100 South Koreans today would have 36 children in the next generation, 13 in the one after, and only 5 within 4 generations. The current population structure already shows this, with one 1-year-old for every 4 50-year-olds. Despite recent peaks in population, workforce, and GDP, the demographic decline is set to intensify. Using conservative low fertility projections, which have been more accurate recently, South Korea's population could shrink by 30% by 2060, losing roughly 16 million people. It would become the oldest society in history, with half its citizens over 65, fewer than 1 in 10 under 25, and only 1 in 100 being young children. Streets would grow quiet, cities might be abandoned, and society would struggle to support its elderly. Economically, the outlook is dire. Currently, 40% of South Koreans over 65 live below the poverty line, and the $730 billion pension fund is expected to run dry by the 2050s. By 2060, with fewer than 1 worker per retiree, the working population will be unable to sustain pensions through taxes. Many elderly may need to work, but jobs could be scarce due to economic contraction. The workforce, projected to shrink from 37 million to 17 million, will reduce GDP, potentially peaking in the 2040s and entering a prolonged recession. Even with technological gains, a smaller workforce and consumer base will limit growth. Government revenues will fall, cutting funds for services like healthcare and infrastructure, possibly leading to abandoned rural areas. Socially and culturally, the impacts are equally stark. Today, 20% of South Koreans live alone, and 20% report having no close friends or relatives. By 2060, half of those aged 70 will have no siblings, and 30% will have no children. Young adults aged 25 to 35 will make up just 5% of the population, often with no siblings, leading Kiran to widespread loneliness. South Korean culture, vibrant through K-pop, K-dramas, and K-food, will struggle. In 2000, 17.5 million people aged 25 to 45 drove cultural innovation, but by 2060, this group will shrink to 5.6 million, just 16% of the population. Traditional practices may fade as younger generations dwindle, diminishing the cultural vibrancy. Militarily, South Korea's ongoing tensions with North Korea complicate matters. By 2060, maintaining current military numbers would require 15% of young men in service, up from 5% today, straining a shrinking youth population. Reversing this trend is challenging. Even if fertility triples to 2.1 children per woman, the population structure would remain imbalanced for decades, with only 1.5 workers per retiree by 2060. However, a slight uptick in births in 2024 to 3% higher than 2023 offers hope. Recovery requires addressing root causes: intense work culture, low wages, high living and education costs, and traditional norms that burden women with disproportionate family responsibilities while men face pressure as breadwinners. South Korea spends less on family support than many developed nations, and cultural expectations around marriage further discourage family formation. This demographic challenge is not unique to South Korea. In 2023, fertility rates were 1 in China, 1.2 in Italy and Spain, 1.4 in Germany, and 1.6 in the UK and US. A rate of 1.6 leads to a 60% population drop over 4 generations. 1.2 means an 87% drop. Globally, Low birth rates are often framed as labor shortages, not the existential threat they pose to societies, cultures, and economies. Without urgent changes to encourage family formation, the coming decades could be challenging. The demographic shift is already underway, and addressing it demands a fundamental rethinking of societal priorities.